This summer, the world's greatest athletes are competing on the global stage in front of an audience of billions. They've been training their whole lives for this moment, and now you get the chance to hear their stories up close and personal. This is Nike On Air, a series about elite athletes brought to you by Nike. You'll hear from the world's fastest woman, Tatiana McFadden, the breakout breaking star, Sunny Choi, basketball legend John Staley, and more. Listen to Nike On Air starting July 7th, only on the Womanica podcast feed. Hello. From Wonder Media Network, I'm Jenny Kaplan, and this is Womanica. This month, we're celebrating women who performed physical and mental feats in sports. They overcame societal barriers, personal struggles, and fierce competition to pursue their dreams of glory. We're talking about athletes. Today's Womanican was far from the favorite to win gold. She was 33 years old, and then in her third Olympics. But she beat the odds and defied death threats to bring home a medal to a Northern Ireland then embroiled in violence. Let's talk about Mary Peters. Mary Peters was born in England in 1939. When she was 11 years old, her family moved to Northern Ireland. Mary discovered she had a natural talent for sports, particularly track and field, and her family was supportive. So supportive, in fact, that her father gave her a unique birthday gift: cement, so that Mary could build a shot put circle at home. Soon, Mary found the coach and mentor she needed to take her to the next level. Buster McShane was a former shipyard worker turned bodybuilder. With Buster's coaching, Mary went on to compete in her first pentathlon in 1955. A few years later, she competed in her first Commonwealth Games, a competition open to athletes from territories occupied by the British Empire, including Northern Ireland. 1964 was the first year the Olympics included women's track and field pentathlon, and Mary was on the team. She placed fourth, just shy of the podium. 4 years later, she traveled to Mexico City. This time, she placed ninth. So as Mary prepared for the 1972 Games in Munich, she wasn't exactly the favorite to win. Her performance had worsened. She was older than many of the athletes. And unlike many of her competitors, she wasn't in a state-sponsored program with top-of-the-line facilities. In fact, as Mary recalled, the one track she ran in Belfast was riddled with holes and cracks. But more challenging than anything, Mary was training in the midst of a violent time in Northern Ireland. As she took the bus to the track, she could hear bombs going off in the distance. Citizens of Northern Ireland were divided between those who wanted to remain a part of the United Kingdom, largely Protestants, and those who wanted independence, mostly Roman Catholics. In January of 1972, British soldiers had killed more than a dozen unarmed civilians during a protest, sparking the most violent year in the era known as the Troubles. Mary herself was British-born and Protestant. She was proud of Northern Ireland, but she didn't express support for the Loyalists or the independence movement. Years later, she said, "I didn't crave success because it would change my life. I wanted to bring something home to Belfast that was good, after all the tragedies that had happened over the previous years." So at the Summer Olympics in Munich on September 2nd, 1972, that's what was on Mary Peters' mind. In the day's first event, 100-meter hurdles, she finished just a hair behind the winner. It's a strong start. Mary's feeling good. But she hasn't faced her main competitor yet. That was Heidi Rosendahl, the star pentathlete from West Germany, and the favorite to win. Heidi ran in another heat for the 100-meter, but Mary would face her soon enough. Next up, shot put. Mary once said of the event, "I hated it because it was very unfeminine, but I had the strength." And of course, lots of practice thanks to the concrete her father had gifted her so many years before. Mary lines up her feet. She winds the shot, spinning, strong, confident. And then she lets out her signature shout. The shot flies
10 meters, 13 meters. It lands just beyond the 16-meter mark. Heidi throws 13 meters.
Mary's in the lead with 3 more events to go. The women prepare for the last event of the day, the high jump. Mary clears bar after bar, She beats Heidi's best jump. Now the bar is set at 1.7 meters. Mary's already used 2 out of the 3 attempts for the jump. As she prepares for her final try, she spots a man in the crowd frantically waving his arms. It's her coach, Buster. "Attack the bar," he mouths. It's the push that Mary needs, so she lines up her feet, takes a deep breath, runs, and throws herself over the pole. And she clears the bar. The stadium erupts in cheers. She ended up clearing 1.8 meters. At the end of the first day, Mary has an impressive point lead over Heidi. But even with her lead, Mary will need a miracle to win the final 2 events, because they're Heidi's best and Mary's worst. The next morning is the long jump.
Heidi jumped 6.83 meters. It's much harder than she imagined, just 1 centimeter shy of the then world record. Mary doesn't break 6 meters.
Her lead has shrunk considerably as they move into the last event, the 200-meter sprint. The athletes put their feet in the blocks. The gun goes off. Mary is terrified, but she can hear the roar of the crowd.
Oh, come on, Mary, you need the run of your lifetime.
She's pumping her arms, trying to keep up.
Pollack is going well, but she's only a yard clear. Mary, come on, you got 2 yards to make.
The event feels like a lifetime, but it's over in just under 30 seconds. Heidi crosses the finish line. Mary crosses 1.2 seconds later, in 4th place. The women struggle to catch their breath as they wait for the results to be tallied. Spectators are tabulating the scores. Finally, Mary feels a hand on her shoulder. It's Heidi. Heidi hugs her, and then Mary knows. She did it. Mary Peters won Olympic gold. But as Mary prepared to return home, she received some news. An anonymous caller had left a message for her. They were threatening to bomb her home and claim the attack in the name of the Irish Republican Army. Mary's dad urged her to go somewhere else. "No way," Mary said. "I'm going home to Belfast." So Mary returned home, where she continued competing and dedicated herself to supporting other athletes from Northern Ireland. She restored the cracked track she'd trained on, and in 1998, the 2 main factions in Northern Ireland reached a peace deal. Recently, Mary revisited the track she'd won gold on. Just as she was recalling the moment of victory, a hand tapped her on the shoulder. It was Heidi Rosendahl. All month, we're talking about athletes. For more information, find us on Facebook and Instagram at Womanica Podcast. Special thanks to Liz Kaplan, my favorite sister and co-creator. Talk to you tomorrow. This summer, the world's greatest athletes are competing on the global stage in front of an audience of billions. They've been training their whole lives for this moment, and now you get the chance to hear their stories up close and personal. This is Nike On Air, a series about elite athletes brought to you by Nike. You'll hear from the world's fastest woman, Tatiana McFadden, the breakout breaking star, Sunny Choi, basketball legend Dawn Staley, and more. Listen to Nike On Air starting July 7th, only on the Womanica podcast feed.
In 2009, Mitrice Richardson was released from the Malibu Lost Hills Sheriff's Station, and she never made it home. Nearly a year later, Mitrice's remains were found in a canyon 6 miles from the station. Her death is Malibu's greatest unsolved mystery. I'm Dana Goodyear. In Lost Hills, Dark Canyon, what happened to Mitrice Richardson? Listen on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
I'm Jordan Gonsalves, and I'm a journalist. Join me on my new podcast, But We Loved, where queer elders recount the amazing history they've lived through.
In the middle of Wall Street, they stopped traffic. They were doing a die-in.
And in the process, share little gems of wisdom for the next generation.
The key is to understanding yourself, learning to love and embrace yourself.
You can listen to But We Loved on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Andrea Gunning, host of the all-new podcast, There and Gone. It's a real-life story of 2 people who left a crowded Philadelphia bar walked to their truck and vanished.
A truck and two people just don't disappear.
The FBI called it murder for hire. But which victim was the intended target and why? Listen to There and Gone South Street on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.